Okay, everyone, we're going to be doing a short video on timing, which is going to be in two parts. I'm going to film the first of it now, and then we're going to take a look at doing timing with oracle cards. I have never been too concerned with doing timing with oracle cards because I use the tarot, but this class we're using the oracle cards. So I just want to give you an idea of how we do it with the tarot. Again, the tarot is just a tool, nothing to be afraid of. When people see a card like the Devil card, and I move it up and down to make sure you can see it, of course, certain groups say, hey, this is satanic or this is an evil deck, you should never use it. And it really has nothing to do with evil. As a matter of fact, the Devil is just saying that people are either too bound to material things, they may be depressed, slightly out of balance, not really on a spiritual path, and that's all this card means. Just means that someone's life is out of balance, or they may have even an addiction problem. But that's not this class. But I just thought I'd go over that now for those of you who have had reservations about using a tarot deck. Of course, you can always get that new Doreen Virtue's Angel Tarot, and I think you'll enjoy that. But when I teach the regular tarot class coming this October, you're going to be asked to get some version of the Rider-Waite, because there is so much symbology on these cards that is so very important with triggering something in your subconscious and the superconscious mind. And that's why they were created the way they were, with all this symbolism, that I'm going to ask you to get a deck of the Rider-Waite Tarot, which it comes in many different styles and colors and things like that. But getting back to timing, I think I mentioned in a previous video that there are 78 cards in the regular tarot deck, and 22 of them are what's called the Major Arcana, and this is the Justice card. And there are 12 Major Arcana out of the 22 that have an astrological sign attached. For example, and if you can see this, Justice is around the month of, or it's the sun sign of Libra, and that's October. We take a look at Temperance, and that's associated with the astrological sign of Sagittarius, so that's around December. And all these things will be going on in that particular class. But when I'm doing a reading, and these cards come out, and I've been asking for timing, then these cards really help me at least narrow down to a month what the timing or time frame is. So that's how some of the timing works with the tarot. And then we get into some of the individual cards, like this is one of the suit cards, and it's hearts, or we call it cups in the tarot. It has to do with emotions and love and relationships. And when I look at a card like this, and I'm looking at timing, oftentimes, I'll focus on the pumpkin if it happens to come up, and that gives me a feeling around the Thanksgiving holidays. It's always been that way for me, and it may be entirely different for you. But this is another one of the little tips that I use as far as, and I'll move it up and down to make sure you can see it, to help me determine timing. Now, if a card comes up like the sun in the tarot, that gives me a feel of hot weather and summertime, those lazy days of summer. So that's another way that I use it in tarot for timing. And then we have what's called the aces. These are the first cards of the suits, whereas in the regular playing card deck, the aces are always at the very end of the face cards or the royalty cards. Your suit, for example, pentacles or wands or cups, they each have a season attached to them. So, for example, if I had, and I'm going to put these two cards together and look for the Lover's card, the Chariot. Okay, that's July. Well, we'll use, no, this is, yeah, summer. If the ace comes up and then there is a Chariot card that's right next to it, then I definitely know it's around the time of July, which is this time right now, this year. So that gives you a further idea of how I do timing with the tarot. Let me pick these up. You're not expected to know this, but I just wanted to give you a little example of how to use the tarot cards in timing. Now I'm pulling out the Osho Zen, and maybe I'll go ahead and start demonstrating, since I'm on a roll, how you can use certain oracle cards for timing. And remember, the original purpose of the Osho Zen, again, was to correspond it to a 78 card tarot deck, but I just found it too difficult to try and transfer the meanings over. For example, I would look at this card and have no idea what it meant in the tarot deck, and I finally realized for me that it was so much easier just to use it as an oracle deck. But again, you know, when you're using a card like this, there are many things that can come up that can, you know, give you a clue as to timing. For example, the Lovers in the Osho Zen is the month of June, you know. So this is one of the ways that I use it. Another way that I use it for timing without having to reach over and pull out my tarot deck, having shuffled thoroughly, and the cards are not all upright or they're not all reversed, you know, they're just mixed together. And this is the way I shuffle. Other people like to move cards around and things like that. I just find that too time consuming, especially if you're doing a reading for someone. But let's just say someone's asked a question about when they're going to get their new job. So the best way to do it, and I'll demonstrate with some of my other oracle decks too, is I'm going to ask first, is this new job offer going to come in the next 3 months? So again, you flip the cards sideways and you don't flip them this way because you'll get an erroneous answer. So I just deal off the top of the deck, or you could have your client pull the cards and make sure that you put it down in front of you the way they pulled them. But we've got a yes. It's kind of like doing yes, no, a yes. And we've got 3 yeses. So if someone was to say to me, when am I going to get that new job? And I've asked, will it be in the next 3 months? Then I would say definitely yes. Okay, now let's say that it came up where you had a no. So the next thing you would do is go 3 to 6 months. Is this new job offer going to come between 3 and 6 months? And again, if the cards come up and you got a no for 1 to 3 months, but you got a yes for 3 to 6 months, you can narrow it down to about 4 to 6 months out. Now, let's say a client is really desperate. They've lost their job. They're probably either on, you know, unemployment, or, you know, they may not have anything coming in. And so they're desperate to have that new job right away. This is where you have to get into your counseling skills, and their face falls, let's say, if the new job doesn't come like next week, and that they may be asking you that, you know, and you can adjust your parameters accordingly. You can ask that question, is a new job offer going to come in the next 7 days? And do the same type of yes, no, where you get either upright or reversed. But what you can tell them is that, no, I don't see an immediate job offer, but that could mean many things. Perhaps you do get a job offer, but you choose not to accept it. You don't feel comfortable with it. Or you could tell them you may have to go to a temp agency just for a little bit. You know, what I like to tell people is it's a stepping stone process, so that I'm just not blatantly and bluntly saying to them, you know, there's just nothing happening for 6 months here, so, you know, you're going to have to wait. I get 9 months that you're going to get a job offer. Nobody wants to hear that with a question like this. So you need to kind of counsel them a little bit and say, well, what can you do in the meantime to start bringing income in, and yet keep searching for that, you know, desirable job, that dream job, you know, doing your manifestations, all of that. In other words, I work with clients to give them the upside and yet I don't lie to them. And it's very true. Oftentimes when people either lose a job for whatever reasons, they can find ways to bring income in the meantime, or they can elect to go on unemployment. Most people's unemployment goes on about a year. That gives them plenty of time. Sometimes people have to accept jobs that are not, their dream, but they have to do something to get by. I've certainly, having been in the corporate world for so many years, when I was with the airlines, we were what's called furloughed because the airline was going through bankruptcy, and I had to find things to do in the meantime, hoping that they would call me back to work, and they did. But it's like, how do you keep food on the table and keep a roof over your head when unemployment is very, very little? And so I did readings. I was one of these fortunate people that could really rev up my business, and the universe always stepped in and took care of me. And that's another thing you can assure clients of, is that, okay, yes, this looks very tricky, and yes, you're afraid you're going to lose your home, maybe because you can't pay your mortgage. So what do? You don't want that to happen, and it doesn't have to happen, but you have to prove to the universe that you're trying. So you need to get out there and sign up with a contract agency or a temp agency. Really encourage them to take action, to be proactive. But this is one way you can do timing with an oracle deck, is by process of elimination. Another way that I do it too, and I promised I would pull down another deck, and I will, I'll demonstrate, is you don't even have to have a card out. I use a pendulum. Now you can make a pendulum out of a metal washer, those round things with holes in the middle, and monofilament thread, and just, hold it, set your intention for it to do the work for you, and you learn your yes, no's. You can program them. For me, a yes is clockwise, and I'm hoping you can see this on the video. And then I drop it, and you may not see my arm, but I have it resting against the table so that it's not up here and my arm shakes a little bit because it's not supported. But the no is counterclockwise for me. This is the way I program my pendulum, and you can do the same. You can order pendulums online. You do need to clear them just like anything else, and set your intention with them. They usually come in some form of a crystal. This is my other one. It's a lot heavier, but it does the same thing, and it really arcs out wide. Really does. Okay, but I like this little one when I'm demonstrating. It's so cute. Okay, now sometimes your pendulum will go like this. That's kind of a maybe. Or it'll go side to side. That's a maybe. So sometimes you have to wait and see if it's going to go into a clockwise or counterclockwise direction. But you can always clear it by dropping it, and then I was taught by a good friend of mine, she just lets it keep going. But you can let it totally stop and then see what it's going to do. Kind of wanting to go counterclockwise right now. I wonder what I just said. Okay, but just know that your pendulum sometimes will kind of get a little uncontrollable, and so you have to put control over it. And you can start going through the days or the weeks or the months. Is this new job going to come? I'm going to intention it, yes, in the next job offer in the next 7 days. And it's little, but it's saying yes. Okay? And again, if it says no and somebody's really desperate, you can tell them, well, what can you do in the meantime, to start bringing money in, or just be patient. The universe will take care of you. It always has taken care of me in very dicey situations and scary times when I really felt like there was nothing coming. But one time I had to go to Columbus, Ohio with the airlines in order to keep my job. And so I did that. And And then I wanted to be out of there as soon as possible because I like the sunshine of Scottsdale, Arizona. Okay, so you can use a pendulum either to back up. Let's say there was a question asked, am I going to get that new job offer in 3 months? And let's say you got a yes here, but let's say it's a no. And you can use your pendulum to back it up, get verification on it, and I'll make it go, okay. So whatever you get, you know, it's saying no. It's backing up what you got. So let's say you got a no, but your pendulum says yes. Then you know that something's up. You know it's iffy. You know that there's a good possibility, and that's what you can tell your client. You know, the cards and the pendulum are seemingly confused about this issue right now. You can always do the pendulum again to see if you affected it in some way subconsciously, but you need to tell them possibly you need to focus a little bit more about getting this job or what you really want to accomplish. Sometimes people are out there and they're floundering like someone who is drowning, and so they're forgetting to focus and to really do the work, put the resumes out, make phone calls. You know, they're just kind of waiting for that knock on the door saying, yeah, here's your job offer, but they haven't done anything. And some people get in paralyzing fear, and maybe some of you can definitely relate to this, where maybe a job loss happened, there's a fear, I'll never get offered another good job again, and so they sit there and do nothing because they're just too afraid to act. Or they might be in a deep depression. When someone loses a job or quits because they were angry, you know, there is a period of depression that follows. And I always suggest, okay, allow yourself to go through the feelings, maybe see a therapist, and then start taking the action. Sometimes people just can't bear getting their resume updated the very next day after losing a job. You know, they have to work through the feelings. So as a psychic advisor and counselor, there are things that you can help your client with, almost like a psychic life coach, you know, to help give them the motivation and tell them, okay, everything is going to be all right. You know, they just need to hear that. Everything's going to be all right. And sometimes something tragic like this leads to something far better. You just can't see it yet. Okay, so that's with the Osho's in. Do you want to use 5 cards for a yes, no? You can absolutely use 5 cards or any number of odd cards, odd numbers. But why? You know, when you're doing a simple yes, no, you'll get your answer right away with just 3 cards. And there's absolutely no reason why you should just keep putting cards out. Now, if you want to go into explanations of why you got a yes or a no, that's where you can start putting cards down. And I suggest you read them upright in this case, because you're not asking a yes, no question. You're wanting more information about why the answer came up the way it did. So this is how and where we get into more advanced concepts with using cards to do readings, because your client is going to want to know more. So, but it's up to you whether you want to do that. But look at this. Maybe they got a no, but you're seeing success. Yeah, you hang in there, everything's going to be fine. But right now, with this card, which is called schizophrenia, but I use it as a card that means somebody may be immobilized with fear or not sure what direction to go. That's how I read this card, regardless of what it says. And so I let them know, hey, give yourself a little bit of time so that you can become more focused and get into harmony with yourself and with the universe. Instead of being angry at the universe that this happened, try and meditate and bring some peace into your life, and whatever it is around you that may be out of balance besides the job and the finances, try and work on that and get that in order. So you can see that there is a lot you can do in timing with, let's say, a deck like the Osho's in. And I'm going to put the Osho's in up here. I'm going to pull, which one is this? call it? Reed, I think is her name. Grace cards, they're called. They're very pretty. And again, I have to say that oracle cards are great for doing readings, just like angel cards, but they tend to be sugary and they really don't get into the nitty-gritty depth of a reading and what's really, really going on. And so what do you do when you use your oracle cards? And you know, you can't just sit there and say, oh yeah, everything's rosy, your life is perfect, and it will be forevermore. I mean, that's kind of the feeling some of these oracle cards give, especially the angel cards. So what you're going to do is you're going to get into your psychic senses, close your eyes, and you're going to see if a month comes up, or if you ask, will it be between 0 and 3 months? And you close your eyes and you kind of get a yes/no answer, and then see what comes up with the cards. And again, it might be counter to what you're seeing, but you have to take it all into account. Now again, if with this particular deck, 2 cards are reversed, 1 is upright. So I'm asking, will the new job offer come between 0 and 3 months? Doesn't look like it, but you get a yes. Okay, well, how do I work with that? Again, get into your psychic senses, see what you sense, what you're feeling with the question and the answer that's coming up, what you're feeling, what you see clairvoyantly, what are the words that you're hearing in your inner hearing. You know, maybe your guides and angels have been asked to come in and work with you during the session, so you stop and listen to see if you get any words or part of words that you're hearing. And you may again think, this is just my imagination, I'm making this up. But this is where the trust comes in. This is where you really have to start relying on what you get. If something comes up that just seems so dismal or negative, like a voice that says, oh, forget it, they'll never get another job. Well, you know, that's not coming from your higher self or your guides for sure. You know, so that might be coming from you, your lower self, or you may be connected with them, their lower self, and they might be sending that message to you because they're in deep fear that, you know, I'll never get that good job again. All right, so here you have a no. Well, let's push these up. Is the job offer coming between 6 and 9 months? And again, and I may have put these cards down wrong, so I was so busy talking. But, oh, interesting, new life. I have a feeling this is going to be a yes, and it is a yes. New life, discontent. The discontent might have to be somebody that really didn't like the job offers or the jobs that were available, and so they were unhappy and decided to wait it out until 6 months. That's a possibility too. Or they just opened up their energy to accept the idea that, yeah, this new job is finally coming. There's so many different facets at play, so many factors, how we think, how we project our energy, that really has to do with the outcomes of the readings, that this is part of what you're going to be talking to your client about. Okay, so between 6 and 9 months, that job offer is coming. We have a new life card, and what you might get from that is that it may be in a new field or something similar to the older job, but yet doing something new. Or they might get hired back from their old company, but be put in a different department altogether. All right, so you can definitely use any kind of oracle cards to do timing, but again, it is a process of elimination and whittling down the time frame. I mean, you can even go, let me pull this other deck for month to month. And while I'm pulling that deck, I want to mention to you that some clients and people that haven't had psychic readings very much, they'll want you to give the month, the day, and the exact time. I mean, you know, they're totally unrealistic with what you're going to get. So you've got to train your clients. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. Well, why not? My other old psychic used to do that. And then you go, well, were they accurate? And they finally admit, no, not that often. You know? So if you ever get this spiel that, well, my old psychic, I had him, her for 5 years, and they were wonderful, and they moved away, and you got to wonder why this old psychic disappeared off the map in the first place. But they'll kind of put you, or try to put you in a corner saying, yeah, they were just so fabulous. So you feel right out the gate like, how can I live up to this? Well, half the time your client isn't telling you the truth. And so you have to take this into account. And number two, you don't have to follow anybody's act. You can, you're a good psychic, intuitive, clairvoyant in your own right. And you can tell them that in so many words. But what was I doing with these? We're asking, is it going to be within a month? So we're going to put these down. And we got a definite no here. Oh, goodness. So, okay. First thing you do is you pick up the cards and you shuffle again. I'm wondering if these particular cards, I had them shuffled well enough. They're a beautiful deck. They're called the Enchanted Map, and I just love them. Okay, and then you can hold them and you can shuffle like this too. Put them down, have your client cut them, and just deal right off the top, or have your client pull the cards. For me, it's easier to just deal right off the top, because you've set your intention with the question, so the universe is indexing it so that the question will come back answered, if you're wondering how all that works. And so we go, is it, in 2 months? And lo and behold, we get a definite yes. Okay, now in this particular deck, you do get numbers, but we can see that in the number 42, that's more than the days in a month. So this is where I use a little bit of numerology and my inner psychic sense. If I were to break down the 4 plus 2 equals 6, then you actually have a number 6 here. And in that numerology report, I showed you how to break down numbers. Here we have a 4 and a 5. So if you add 4 plus 5, that equals 9. So that is one way you can start building a system to start getting actual days. Again, we have, it's not again, but we have a 2 plus 6, but you can barely see that, I'm sure, which can be an 8. Sometimes some intuitives will break down the numbers. We have a 6, we have an 8, pardon me. We have a 6, which is 14, and then we have a 9, which is what, 23, 24. I'm not great on math in my head. So that would be a date to give them. So that brings up my final advice about configuring timing with any kind of oracle deck, is that nothing is cast in stone. I have certain ways of figuring out timing with the tarot that I have over the years adopted that works for me. Some of the ways that I do timing are spelled out in one book of instructions, and yet you buy somebody else's book, like Eileen Conley, instead of the Eden Gray, and they tell you something entirely different for the same exact steps. So this is what I do. The universe listens to what we put out there, what we set our intention to do, and the universe delivers to us exactly what we ask for. Okay, it has no emotion attached. For example, if somebody is asking for, their perfect love to come in, then, okay, the universe might bring that perfect love in. And what do you mean by perfect love? You have to spell that out. But there might be things attached to it, like your perfect love lives across the country. That's why writing out your manifestation lists are so important. You include every detail. But the point I'm trying to get here in this is, number one, write down a system for timing that you wish to use that works for you. So my suggestions that I've made here in this video, you can definitely take them and move things around or change what I've told you, or even come up with your own creative way of configuring timing. Just because I'm teaching you the way I do it, it's a starting point for you, yes. But eventually you will find your own way of doing it. And does that mean your way is not relevant? It's not accurate? Absolutely not. Because again, I want to go back to the concept that when we set up a structure, a set of rules with the universe, it becomes embedded in our own subconscious mind. When we shuffle the cards and we're asking a question, then somehow the cards are chosen, for the most part, that reflect the true answer for the question, no matter how it is that you set up your own system to determine timing. So if you only want to use one card, this is how I determine timing. Is it going to be in 7 days, between 0 and 7? Again, the more detailed you are in asking the question, the better it is. And you get a no, and you just have one card, that's perfectly fine. And then you can ask, is it, between 0 and 14 days? Whoops, no, we get another no. Okay, I think I'm flipping them, but this is just demonstration. Okay, is it between 0 and 21 days? We get a no. Is it between 0 and a month? Yes, so it really looks like the job offer, or at least little tendrils of inquiries are happening between the 21st day and the 30th or the 31st. So this is a wonderful way to do timing. And then again, if you had gotten a no, then you have to start over again. Okay, is this going to be 1 month and 7 days before the job offer comes in? You get a yes. You see what I'm doing.